Let the countdown begin.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the 100 Fantasy Football channel. If we're meeting for the first time, once again, my name is Ivan Herrera. I would be extremely grateful if you please hit that like button on the way in. We have a lot going on today. And if this is your first time here to the 100 Fantasy Football channel, the mission of this channel is to bring purposeful community to fantasy football. So if you are here live, be sure to put in the comments where you're tuning in from, any questions you may have, and I will address them at the Q&A portion of the live stream. So let me go ahead and quickly go through some things. But before we go any further with what's going down today, I would highly encourage you to also hit that subscribe button and as well as hit that notification bell so you are notified whenever I go live. I go live every single Saturday to get you ready for the Sunday matchups. And we also recap some things that went down as far as injuries and news. And of course, let's go ahead and go through that really quick. I'm going to go through some of the injury news that went down this week, some players that unfortunately went to now become out, and then we have some players that are questionable, what that does for certain rosters, and what you need to do to make sure that you're prepared to counter any of these injuries if they are on your roster. So here we go. And from there, we're going to go over some NFL news. Then we're going to go over some Week 10 players. And then we're also going to go over my bold prediction of the week. So that way we can see how I do. I think I've been doing pretty good for the most part. And lastly, we're going to go over, of course, like I said, the Q&A portion of the live stream. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one we're going to get into, as always, is going to be the notable injuries. But actually, before we get to injuries, let me quickly greet my guy Luke, who's on the stream. What's up, Luke? Always good seeing you on here, man. Appreciate you sharing your insight and always saying hello. Let me see your feedback here. It says the lighting seems different. It's still good, just a little darker. Well, you let me know if it looks bad. You tell me, because this is for you guys. This stream isn't for me. I have an extra light over there behind me. I have my light right here. If I got to brighten it up, let me know. I will do so. Let me actually see if this makes a difference. There we go. Going up 2 levels. I don't know. You let me know if that looks good. But always looking for trial and error. Always looking to improve the experience. You said Big Ben is out. Wow, I didn't hear that. Just got on the stream, so we'll check that. We'll vet that. But yeah, let's go ahead and go into it real quick. So we got some notable injuries, and the notable injuries for week number 10, as always, are gonna have some players that are on a lot of rosters and are gonna affect how you're gonna go into your lineups on Sunday. So the first one I'm gonna open up with is gonna be with Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints. Unfortunately, he was ruled out, so expect as counterpart Mark Ingram to step in to really fill in the void there for Alvin Kamara. The one bad thing is, though, it's not going to be one of those plug-and-play situations, because with Alvin Kamara, as well as with Mark Ingram, they are going to be going up against the Tennessee Titans, who are a top 10 run defense in fantasy. So though you are probably excited to have a handcuff for Alvin Kamara, this is going to be very, very difficult to go into. So expect a tough matchup for Mark Ingram going into week number 10. The second one, of course, this was one of the big ones that affected me this past weekend in week number 9. That was Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, who was out in week number 9, actually was his first game he ever missed, the first start he ever missed in his young career. And that, of course, also affected DeAndre Hopkins, who also was out in week number 9. But both of them seem to have made a lot of strides going into this week, and they should actually be active. Both of them have been termed to be a game time decision, but I expect both Kyler Murray as well as DeAndre Hopkins to be back into the mix for the Arizona Cardinals in week number 10. Jamal Williams, who is the backup for DeAndre Swift in Detroit, was ruled out with a thigh injury, and expect, even though the matchup isn't the most ideal going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, expect Swift to get a lot of the work. And the cool thing about this, he's only had 2 games where he's only had 5 targets or less. He actually hasn't had less than 5 targets. He's only had 5 targets twice. Everything else has been more. So I expect him to be utilized a lot, not just maybe as a rusher, where he may not be as effective this weekend, but as a passer, which is where he typically thrives in matchups such as these. So I expect DeAndre Swift to have a wonderful week in week number 10. Next, we're going to go over is James Robinson, who also suffered an injury last week because of the bruised heel that he had. We saw that Carlos Hyde really didn't do much in the backup in that handcuff role, now being the starter. So I expect him to be questionable. And then once again, they're going up against the Indianapolis Colts. They are a top 3 defense. So it's not like if you were having James Robinson, you were excited for the matchup. But regardless, it's going to be tough sledding, even if he is a go, being that, again, Indianapolis is a good run defense. Next one we're going to go over is Damian Harris. Both of them Damian Harris as well as Ramondre Stevenson. Both were in the concussion protocol, and Damian Harris was actually officially ruled out earlier in the afternoon, so he's not going to be there. So I still haven't gotten word about what's going to go down with Ramondre Stevenson, but expect J.J. Taylor to be the one for New England that will get really involved if Ramondre Stevenson doesn't make his way to the field on Sunday. And from there, we're going to go over Chase Claypool. He was out last week because, there was news that he hurt himself at the end of that game, towards the end of the game in week number 9 with his toe. He was officially ruled out, which means that you're going to see a big game from Deontay Johnson. And I do expect also a wide receiver, Cody White, to maybe get some looks. If you are if you're in a situation where you're desperate, look at Cody White. I will go over Patt Freirmuth later on, who I think will be also another beneficiary to this unfortunate injury. And then the final one, we have Chris Carson, who was ruled out officially on Friday. So I expect Alex Collins to get involved. Apparently the Seahawks coaching staff wanted to make sure that he was 100% comfortable, and that they also felt comfortable with him being out there in the field. That unfortunately wasn't the case. So that is the injury recap going into week number 10 this week. So let's go ahead and quickly go into some of the big news, and of course none bigger than Odell Beckham Jr. going to the Los Angeles Rams. And before I go any further, this looks a little funky. Yeah, there we go. Let me fix this. My video got small, so let me quickly adjust this, and then we will get this party started. Here we go. And there we go. Okay, cool. Sorry about that, Luke. I know you're over here. Like, what is up with this dude? Okay, there we go. Much better. All right, sweet. A little lower. There we go. Now, much better. Boop. All right, cool. So, big news out of the week was Odell Beckham Jr. making his way to the Los Angeles Rams after a ugly split with the Cleveland Browns. Odell Beckham Jr. made his decision. He surprisingly cleared waivers, and he narrowed down his decision to the Green Bay Packers or to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams made the best fit for him. They pursued him, gave him a pretty good deal compared to what was being asked of him in Green Bay, who was offering the veterans minimum, but the LA Rams made the best impression, and now we're going to see Odell Beckham Jr. in Los Angeles. Now, before I go into the horrific news that took place with Robert Woods, originally I thought to myself, the only player that is neutral here is going to be Cooper Kupp. The one player that I think naturally gets a bump is going to be Matthew Stafford, the quarterback, because now he has other weapons to really facilitate that football around you. And then also another one that I was thinking about was running back Darrell Henderson, who now is going to have a lot of the defenses really focusing in on the wide receivers, considering that originally before today's unfortunate news, you had Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, as well as Odell Beckham Jr. to account for. So that obviously will change. However, what this does for Odell Beckham Jr. now is that he is going to be someone that I think you could get some pretty good value from if you're looking to trade him because of the name value that he possesses. It may be interesting to see how it pans out. I hope he plays on Monday, but don't expect much, being that he hasn't got much of practice with the team yet, and it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. They are going up against the 49ers, so this is like a middle of the pack secondary, so I do expect a pretty engaging game for those of us that are really looking forward to see how Odell will do in his debut. But this does originally, I did say it was going to affect Van Jefferson, but now with the unfortunate news of Robert Woods being gone on with the torn ACL, it's really unfortunate, just because we were so excited to see how this offense was going to thrive with these three amazing talented wide receivers. So expect Van Jefferson to get in the mix as well for Los Angeles. So they are going to really see how they have their deep threat with Van Jefferson, who can blow the top out of the secondary, and then of course you have Cooper Kupp, who's been having a phenomenal historic season thus far through 9 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So that is my take on Odell Beckham Jr. and his effect with the Los Angeles Rams. Beginning week number 10, hopefully. So it should be fun to see how that pans out. So let's go ahead and get into the players that I think you should start this upcoming week in week number 10. And I teased it earlier, but one of my favorite players so far in the 2021 season has been Patt Freirmuth. And I think in week number 10, he's going to continue to showcase the talent that he's been possessing throughout the entire season. We, of course, got unfortunate news that Chase Claypool was going to be out. And with Juju Smith-Schuster out for the season, we saw that Patt Freirmuth was becoming more of a focal point for that Pittsburgh offense, and in the past 3 weeks he saw 6 or more targets, making him one of the better tight ends to have in fantasy. And Chase Claypool now being out opens up more for Pat Freirmuth, and I think that the matchup is going to be even great for them as well. So I like Pat Freirmuth this week in week number 10. Next player I'm really excited about, and it's really rare that I usually do 2 tight ends, but I saw the matchup and I couldn't ignore it. So I'm going to go with Noah Fant, someone else that you should be really considering, being that my beloved Philadelphia Eagles are horrendous versus the tight end this season. They're at the bottom of the pack. They are number 32 with points averaged to the tight end in fantasy this season. And the thing is, 3 of the last 4 games, Noah Fant hasn't really been too productive. He's averaged single-digit points in fantasy, but I feel that this week is one of those get-right games for him, and I believe that he will do so going up against my Philadelphia Eagles in week number 10. So if you have Noah Fant, go ahead and start him with confidence. I'm actually in a situation where I have both Fant and Freirmuth, so I don't know where I should go there. So if you have any feedback or any recommendations, go right ahead. I'm still stuck, but I'm leaning more Freirmuth, but because there's less mouths to have to feed over there, less mouths for there to feed over there in Pittsburgh compared to Denver. So cool. Next one we're going to go over is quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, with Derrick Henry now out, I think should be heavily utilized as a now with them having so many talented wide receivers, with Julio Jones looking like he's getting healthier, A.J. Brown, who looks more like A.J. Brown the last couple of weeks, and of course you still have Josh Reynolds there. I believe that Tannehill will have a phenomenal week. Listen, they're going up against the New Orleans Saints, who typically are a pretty good defense, but in the last 3 games, the Saints have actually given up the 3rd most points to the quarterback, and I believe that with Derrick Henry out, Tennessee should continue to utilize their passing game as their main weapon, and I think that they will do so at this upcoming week, which is why if you have Ryan Tannehill outside of a few quarterbacks this upcoming week, I would go with Ryan Tannehill as your starter. Start him with confidence, knowing that he has a great matchup and he can leverage it with the talented wide receivers that he also possesses there in Tennessee. Now we're going to go over a kind of an obvious one, so this isn't too much of a like, hey, I'm blowing your mind here with this one, but because of the injury concerns there in Tampa Bay, I'm going to go with Mike Evans, someone who I absolutely love going into this upcoming week. Listen, with Chris Godwin unfortunately being questionable, it's going to really now open up more targets for Mike Evans, and it's pretty crazy. In the games that he's had 8 or more targets, he's averaged 24 points a game. So I was pretty mind blown just looking at his splits throughout this entire season and seeing his production. And with if Chris Godwin is going to even be playing, and if he isn't even going to be as utilized, I still expect Mike Evans to have a phenomenal week going into week number 10. So expect him to be the player that will benefit the most, with of course Chris Godwin being limited in week number 10. So now the final one I'm going to go over is actually going to be my bold prediction for week number 10. So with that, let's go ahead and get into bold predictions for week number 10.
It's a bold strategy, Todd. Let's see if it pays off for him.
So, whoa, let's fix this. This is not how it's supposed to be. My bad. I'm all blocked up. Let's move you to the side. There we go. And then let's close this up. My apologies, guys. I'm usually better prepared than this. So let me move this guy over, cut that off so it looks cleaner. You're seeing my tutorial on how I do my stuff here, so you're getting a behind the scenes look. All right, cool. So yeah, Luke, you're right. If Big Ben is out, I would much rather go with Noah Fant, especially going up against my Eagles and having such a good matchup there. But okay, Zack Moss is in place. We are good to go. So I'm going to do that all over again. I'm going to run the bold prediction cold open, and then we're going to get into
It's a bold strategy, Todd. Let's see if it pays off for him.
All right, so the bold prediction for this week in week number 10 is running back for the Buffalo Bills, Zack Moss. After having a lot of injury concerns leading up to the weekend, Zack Moss is cleared to play for the Bills, and I believe that with the matchup, it's going to be one of those great situations where he's going to really feast off of that. So, for instance, Zack Moss over the last 3 weeks has only averaged 7.4 fantasy points, but I think going up against the Jets, it's one of those circumstances that they give up the most points to the running back. I believe that this is one of those get-right games for Zack Moss, and because of that, I see him having a phenomenal week. My stat prediction for Zack Moss goes as follows. I believe he will have 14 rushes for 78 yards, but not only that, he will also have 5 receptions for another 57 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. So I expect there to be a phenomenal bounce back week for Zack Moss going up against the Jets in week number 10. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up real quick to any Q&A. This one looks funky. I don't know why it has that borders there, so I'm sorry, Luke. But do you have any questions, man? Anything that is concerning for you? Anything that you're looking into for this upcoming week? Any questions? Actually, you know what? Let me look at that. I wanted to vet Big Ben being gone for week number, because that'll suck really bad if that's the case. Let me see. Here's my alerts. Wow, yeah, and is out for the Detroit Lions. Oh, wow, and look at this, too. An hour ago, Julio Jones sidelined him for at least 3 weeks. So now he's okay. So here you go. We're seeing some updates here, guys. So Julio Jones has been ruled out for the next 3 weeks. He's gonna get placed on the IR. Second thing, Big Ben is of course in fact gonna be out for week number 10. So this may change how I look at Pat Freirmuth compared to Noah Fant. So it'll be interesting. The matchup's still juicy. They're going up against the Lions, one of the worst defenses in the league, one of the worst teams in the league. So cool. So with that, guys, more on that later on. I'll go ahead and put a reaction on my Instagram, but I'm getting ready to go eat. I'm going to have a date night with my wife. We're going to go get some sushi. So I'm really, really excited with that. So as always, thank you so much for making it at the end of this video, rather to the end of this video. I really do appreciate you guys making it to the very end. As always, I encourage you to subscribe, hit that like button. It'll help out a lot with the algorithm. Best of luck to you this weekend in week number 10. As always, keep it 100.